in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip. And it looks like I did not have to send the old tank helmet back to Amazon. The Winnipeg Jets on Hockey Night in Canada find a way to blow a 3-1 lead entering the third period against the Toronto Maple Leafs. A game I thought the Winnipeg Jets started really strong in this one. That first period, despite what I found interesting about this one, I guess, is very much an open hockey game. A lot of transition both ways. And early on, I actually thought the Jets were the better team, creating chances off of that. And then the Leafs slowly worked their way back into it. The Winnipeg Jets get depth scoring across their lineup. Nino, first goal in 22 games. We get a Luke Shen primary assist. Logan Stanley continues piling up the points. We get a real sloppy overtime. That was one of the worst overtime periods I've seen from a hockey team this year, and especially the Winnipeg Jets. And the Toronto Maple Leafs find their way into 3 straight goals to win this one 4-3. A great out-of-market scoreboard tonight. Columbus comes back and wins. Calgary wins tonight. Utah wins tonight. And we got a game. Oh, not anymore. Boston blew it open. Chicago will not get a win tonight. But despite a 4-0-1 last 5 games, the Winnipeg Jets will wake up again tomorrow in 31st place. We're going to have to break this all down. But I can't do this alone. Mikey, how you doing, buddy?
It's a Saturday night. Saturdays are made for karaoke. So everybody, clear your lungs, see how you're feeling, because we got to hit our song. Stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It will still soon be here. We're still on pace for that draft pick that we are absolutely coveting to salvage this lost season and have somebody come in for it there. So, like you said, it was a pretty open hockey game. There was a lot of goals back and forth. Jets, unfortunately, if you're still chasing that playoff spot, couldn't get that second point. It's an interesting one to kind of go over. I can't wait to talk about our Neil's comments as well at the end of the game. Because there was some, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect between the questions that were being asked and the answers he was wanting to give out. So,
hey, we'll get into all of that. I think Rihanna Alicia kind of called this one here. Did I think we'd learn from the New Year's and hold a lead and win against the Leafs? Yes, I had hoped. Was I surprised to see the lead disappear and us lose? Nope. Was I frustrated still? Yes, I think that'll be a common theme for a lot of people, especially with Toronto in-house taking up the oxygen in the arena. Mikey, let's start though. The Winnipeg Jets lost the game. Time to hand out some Tank Commander awards to start the show. Who was your Tank Commander on this night, helping ensure the Winnipeg Jets continue chasing a high draft pick? Let us know in the chat. Mikey, who's your Tank Commander of the night?
My knee-jerk reaction and the first one that I jumped to was going to be Kyle Connor. I was going to go to number 81 for some very obvious reasons that the chat's already pointed out that I know we're going to talk about. But I will say the amount of ridiculousness to score the goal that he did, which not many people are going to score that goal. That was just absolutely sick. Unfortunately, negates him in the running for Tank Commander for me.
Gotcha.
That balanced it out, unfortunately. So he can't get this prestigious award. I'm actually going to do something I haven't done yet. I'm going to go out of market for that one, or not out of market, but just out of the Jets. I'm going to give it to Max Domi, who only needed 17 opportunities to score a goal before he got one in there. And God bless him. He tried real hard not to have the Jets win this game. But in the end, he gets that goal right at the very end there.
Yeah, we're going to have a Kyle Connor conversation tonight because this was one of those ones where he drives me freaking crazy watching him tonight. But on the tank commander bit here. Unfortunate winner, but I'm sticking with what I saw in overtime. And I thought that was one of the worst played overtimes I've seen a team play. That was all Toronto. I'm going to go, and I thought he had a pretty good night up until overtime. Josh Morrissey fumbles the puck, really commits on that 2-on-1, giving Domi such a wide lane. Hellbuck stumbles there. I don't know what happens there. But we're going to give Josh Morrissey, the tank commander tonight, for how he looked in overtime.
Yeah.
A rare one for old Josh Morrissey.
Yeah, he's not usually on this end of the awards, so he's got to eat that one. That makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, shower him with praise. I just thought that overtime was tough. And when it leads to the game winner, someone's got to wear the old bucket. And on this night, for me, it's Josh Morrissey. I see in the chat, Neil DeBeck says Connor not back checking again. Jordy Angus, tank commander, is Connor's no back check in overtime. Bomberlane says, how many times have we seen Casey not back checking? Let's go to the conversation that everyone's talking about tonight, because I thought this was one of the most obvious nights where Kyle Connor scores that highlight reel, like you mentioned, walks the line, puts it short side. But his efforts and his lack of reads defensively today were one of those nights where it pisses me off. He became a $12 million for the rest of his life player. You think of the lack of back check on PP1 that leads to that 2-on-1, and Connor Hellbuck bails out the Jets with 2 big saves. You think about that play in overtime where there's no effort to get back. And there was multiple plays today that go up his wall, and he's turning around, and he's doing the whole figure skating thing, and it ends up at his point, and he's late. Would you see it at Kyle Connor? Because this is one of those ones where I would just like to go up and down him despite him scoring such a beautiful goal. It is so frustrating for me to watch. Now, it helps this team not win hockey games when you have efforts like that. But, man, it is infuriating when this is your highest played player as soon as next year. And the lack of effort when it matters, it drives me nuts.
Look, I think there is some poetry in the fact that a fan wearing a Phil Kessel jersey caught the puck that flew into the stands for Kyle Connor's performance tonight. That was some classic bad Phil tonight is what you saw from Kyle Connor. You saw all of the offensive magic in close around the net and none of the give a shit. It wasn't there for him tonight. Connor's one of those players that you can absolutely tell which nights he's on and motivated and which nights he is just not feeling it. And this was definitely one of those nights, like you said, multiple times where the play ends up in behind him. He's spinning around. It's over his shoulder, and and not for Connor Hellebuck, especially early, the game ends up over well before overtime. So yeah, this was a classic. Connor, here's all of my magic, but none of my give a shit.
Yeah, frustrating. I see Jordy Angus says there's also no reason he couldn't have caught Domi in OT. Skate your ass off or dive and try and poke the puck with your stick. Do anything. Choices TK over on Twitch has a theory for you. Connor's eyes are on the prize of the Olympics. That's what matters to him at this point. You don't get hurt if you don't hustle. What do you think of that one?
It's always impossible to know what's going on in somebody's brain, but it's real easy to read the tea leaves a little bit and come to that conclusion, right? You've got a team that's not progressing in the Stanley Cup hunt that, they probably thought they were going to, and we were all told was the plan and was communicated to them. And then you do have this prize of the Olympics that's sitting right there. So, you know what? If it's the case, yeah, it's pretty damn obvious. Even if it's not the case, that's what it looks like from the outside, right? If you're having nights where you just don't look like you're really all that invested in any other part of the game outside of what's happening from the offensive blue line in, and maybe even a little bit closer, maybe hash marks in, then you're going to come to those type of conclusions, right? So yeah, I think Choices kind of fucking hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, I want to pivot here. Rihanna Alicia says, I swear this game could have maybe been won if those crossbars hadn't interfered with my Jets goals. But then again, this team would have still found a way, crossbars aside. This was one of those games. The Jets lately have been piling it on 4, 5, 6 goals a game on low 20s, late 20 shots. Felt like one of those games where the hockey gods were not going to reward them for a fourth. I believe it was Cole Perfetti goes bar unless Hildeby got that one early. John Taves goes post and crossbar late in that one. The angle that the camera had, I definitely thought that went in. This was one of those games, close but no cigar, and they still find a way to blow it. Was puck luck? Have we seen the end of their puck luck run here, or was this a one-off?
Everything balances out, right? In the end, all of these, the good, the bad, they generally balance out over the course of the whole season. We saw a whole bunch of bad in a row. We just saw a whole bunch of good in a row now as well. So, yeah, it feels like we're probably starting to head back more towards the middle on some of the results. Like you said, it didn't feel like they were going to be rewarded with a fourth goal tonight, especially as the game progressed. Toronto just felt more and more like they were honing in on it. So, yeah, it's the good times are never going to last as long as, as you want them to. And it just felt like tonight things were a little bit back to kind of even.
Definitely felt like it. So, to add to that, too, there was that Connor to Scheifele play as well. So the Jets leave the first period in this one, up 7-0 in high danger shots or high danger chances. They end up finishing the game. What was it here? 13-15. So the back 40. Toronto clearly gets the better chances the rest of the way. And this to me looked like, especially after Toronto makes it 3-2, I thought I saw a team that tightened up a little bit. And we know this team has had many issues this year blowing multi-goal games. Just add this one to the pile. But after this recent stretch, did you see the same? And should we read into something like that when you think the team is at their best lately? They should have the confidence, but it felt to me that once this game opened up, once Toronto made it close, it felt – you were in the group chat with me and Voth. I felt it was inevitable.
Yep.
Do you see this team tightening up, and is that good news for the tank?
So Sportsnet showed a stat during the game that the Jets are the worst team in terms of win percentage when having a lead in the third period. I don't know how you can feel safe with any lead right now, right? You have the ghost of New Year's Day, which was, not that long ago of what happened with that one, right in the midst of their, 4 games in a row of multi-goal comebacks. So we know that that's there. They know that that's there. So yeah, there's no way to not feel that right now. Like I said, this year feels like the upside down. It's the, reverse version. It's the weirdo version of last year where it felt like they were in every game. This year, it feels like they have the opportunity to lose every game, even with a 2-goal lead. So yeah, if we're all feeling that from the outside, they also have to be feeling that a little bit on the inside. And like you said, you'd think and you would hope that they've got that level of confidence right now, but it still doesn't quite feel like they've really shaken off all of the cobwebs.
No, for sure. And T. Konopoli points out, this is great news, as it is good for the tank. On the positives, and I think this is an interesting development for this team, despite where I believe this is all going. Another night, getting to the front of the net leads to the Winnipeg Jets goals.
Yep.
Iafallo tip, getting to that net front. Nino, getting off the slide. 22 games for Nino Niederreiter. Good God. Getting to the net front to get a tip. What are you seeing from the Winnipeg Jets in the O-zone? Because I'm seeing over this stretch of games. We talked about it the other day. All 5 goals came from the net front, getting there, causing traffic. I'm seeing a team that is actually focusing their offense on getting pucks up to the blue line and getting to the net and looking for tips, going after those rebounds. What are you seeing from the Winnipeg Jets offensively right now? And is this a good sign for a team that couldn't buy goals for a lot of this stretch here?
I've over the years, I've given the Jets a lot of flack for not feeling like they had an identity. Routinely over the years, I'd go around and ask people, what is the identity of the team on the ice? What is the one thing that they, they're good at, they focus in on? and you'd get 8 different answers because there wasn't really a thing for, big stretches of it. I feel like right now you have an offense that at least has settled in and decided on that's what our identity is going to be. They're going to put pucks at the net. They're going to get into those, high traffic areas. They're going to work down low and try to work the puck back up high a lot. They're going to just kind of get in the face of the goalies and try to get inside and work it there. Scott O'Neill in the post game today, they asked him about it. They asked about, why do we have that big increase right now of guys going to that area? And his answer was that they see that it's working. His answer was that the guys, on the bench are watching it and it's working and it's going in and good things are happening when they're doing it. So they've all decided to do it, kind of thing. And that's exactly what it felt like to me. It felt like an entire group that went, okay, we don't have, high-end snipers right now. We don't have somebody that's going to, put this in from, way out and be able to pick those corners outside of a couple guys. So fuck it. Let's just, pound the net and go hard into the paint. And they've really done a good job as well of not having a lot of them called back for goalie interference. They've kept that even to a minimum. So to me, that's what it reads as. It's a group that went, all right, this is how we can do it. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah, it does seem like there's actually been collective buy-in. This has been something even for years that's frustrated me with this team because when they've gone dry, it's largely become a perimeter team. So I do think if you're looking for positives on a night like this continues to be one where the Winnipeg Jets are getting to the right areas. They are doing the right things to generate offense consistently. And you see it. This is another night where you don't get any goals from the top line. They control their minutes, but they don't score.
Yep.
You get your offense down the lineup. You get one from the Vlad, Adam, Lowry, Nito line, who was probably their best line on this night. You get one from the where was it here? You get one right after the power play again.
Yeah,
Logan Stanley. The power play 2 thing. The key might be here. He's played 2 games. Right after it expires is when he gets cooking. So we're going to have to see if this is going to become a little bit of a trend.
Yep.
It's a weird one, but that's 2 games in a row where the power play just misses scoring during the power play. But Stan gets that shot through.
Yep.
IFL tips it. The Winnipeg Jets power play has become a bit of a weapon. They don't score on this night. They kill off both penalties when they go up 2-1 in the second. Didn't love that Taves take.
Yeah.
IFL felt like needed to save a goal there.
Yep.
What are we seeing more consistently out of the special teams in Winnipeg? I know they don't score on the power play today, but you see John Taves, especially in that late one, get 2 good chances off that line. I do feel we're seeing a more consistent generation of quality looks outside the one power play in the second period where Toronto had 3 looks to the Jets 1.
Those shorthanded.
What are you seeing on the special teams right now?
I think they've got the personnel finally worked out a little bit better. Earlier on in the season, especially when the slump was kind of going on, the power play just you had a mismatch of styles on each one, and it wasn't quite working out. Right now, your power play 2 and your power play 1 just fit a little bit better in terms of the personnel and what each group wants to do. So I think that's kind of what you're seeing right now is you've got the skill sets offensively that are able to kind of to mash a little bit better. And, Stanley's riding that heater, right? He's got that crazy shooting percentage going on. Everything is working out for him right now. So, yeah, get him onto that power play 2. That unit is your meat and potatoes unit anyways, right? So he fits. We've always said Stanley, offensive blue line in is where you could really try to find an NHL player, and he's showing you that this year with that crazy shooting percentage, that unsustainable one. But you ride it while it's hot, and even though it's technically not on the power play, I still attribute that goal for power play 2 in my head. So that's great night from them.
No, for sure. Infinity Comet joins the show and says, "How did Salmonson play?" Or Salamonson, sorry.
Yes, good job.
I was working at the game, so didn't really see.
You did.
And we get a spotlight on Hockey Night in Canada from Kevin Bieska with Elias Salamonson. He gets his nationality wrong. Has some tough times.
That's Kevin.
Pronouncing it, like me. That's not even a criticism. But Elias Salamonson starting to get some love from Kevin Bieska, who says, I wanted to do a video package on him the last time he was called up. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him today. Game 2 of the call-up. Elias Salomonson playing top 4 minutes. How are we feeling?
I am absolutely loving his game so far. He's done, even from just the first game to this game, you've seen, again, a little bit of improvement. He's able to clean up some of the looks that he maybe reacted on a little slowly in the first game. You didn't see that in this one. No big glaring errors, no giant turnovers, none of the things that you look at for rookies, right? Generally with rookie defensemen, the big moments are usually big negative moments. They're not usually, positive ones. And you're just not getting any of those right now. And then when you look at who he matched up against all night, right? His minutes 5-on-5 are against the Matthews line. That's where they were paired up all night long, and he absolutely did an incredible job taking on, one of the best players in the National Hockey League, one of the best offensive players. So I am so fucking happy to see that he's doing well. I wish there was a way that he'd get to stay up past, the injuries going forward. Maybe if there's a trade on that back end there, Luke Shen.
It's coming.
Hopefully I'm wrong and I get to lose that bet. But he is eating those fourth or second pairing minutes right now. So I'm real happy about it.
Yeah, I thought this was another good step. The biggest chance against them comes when Nino turns that puck over as the rest of the Jets were fleeing the zone, and Domi gets that Matthews to Domi. Let's try the between the legs. Gotta say, as much as I get fired up with a guy like Kyle Connor, watching Max Domi at this stage of his career would drive me bananas.
Yep.
I thought he had a real tough night, and yet he ends up sealing the deal. And so you see Elias stop up with that 3-on-2. It ends up in the corner. And you see him make physical, big contact on Matthews. You're seeing him jump into plays. You're seeing him make stops at the blue line. There was times where he might have been a step off defensively, and that's going to come with a rookie. But you look at the maturity in his reads in the game, I do kind of agree with Kevin Biesca that there's something to be really excited about here. I will say, very interesting dynamic because I see Rihanna Alicia talking about it. Why can we not ever contain Austin Matthews? And this was a night where, for a lot of the game, I felt they kept him in check.
Yeah.
But once he started feeling it, especially towards the back half of this game, the Winnipeg Jets had a ton of trouble with him in the defensive zone. He, on his goal, how is he that open? Of all the guys on the Toronto Maple Leafs,
that
was Austin Matthews, high slot, waiting to rip.
Yep.
There was a few other times where the high IQ, him on the power play, watching a guy figure things out so quickly. So it was very clear on the penalty kill, Dylan Samberg on the first unit, and then when Samberg went off, Adam Lowry on the second unit, were clearly supposed to stick tight to Austin Matthews if you watch the team in the D zone. And every time they looked to wind him up for a one-timer, Samberg came diving out. Lowry would give up the middle of the ice to go cheat towards Matthews.
Yep.
And when it comes to the elite players, this is where I think watching some of the best guys in the world is so special. Because Matthews picks up on this within 10 seconds, and he fakes a clapper, gets Samberg to dive, and then steps to the middle for a wrist shot chance. Seeing the chess game play out and watching how the highest end guys do it is pretty impressive. The Winnipeg Jets, for whatever reason, never seem to have an answer for Austin Matthews, who at 5-on-5, his line contributes to, and then in overtime, as soon as the puck's on his stick for a 2-on-1, and you don't see a back check coming, and Morrissey's really committing to Austin Matthews, which leaves Max Domi all the way over there. Game over. Austin Matthews is a real problem for this team, and we did see it tonight.
Yeah, luckily it's only 2 games a year against the Leafs, so we don't have to keep seeing it over and over again. Because they have a real tough time trying to contain him. Man, say that 5 times fast.
I'll try. Let's get in to the From Financial Faceoff on this night, a night where I'm seeing in the chat people are not thrilled with how vocal the Toronto faithful were in Winnipeg tonight. Yeah. Pretty loud, rocking building. I gotta say personally, as frustrating as that is as a fan base, it makes for an awesome in-game atmosphere, in my honest opinion.
Yep.
The back and forth, the constant chanting, like that building was loud most of the night. I want to hear your thoughts on that, Mikey, and then let's get into the From Financial Face-Off on this night.
All right, let's hit it. Right on, and we'll also be opening up the phone lines right away here too. 1204-800-0409. 1204-800-0409. Get on the line. Give us a call. So I come from the world of soccer. Was where my fandom comes and grows from, and what I've been exposed to the most over my life. Where that's the norm, right? You know, half to a quarter to a third of the stadium is the opposing fans, and it's loud, and they're singing and chanting and cheering just as much as you are, kind of thing. So I fucking love it. I think it's great when you've got the Leafs games or the Habs games or the Flyers games. I always notice that one's a big one where we get a ton of opposing fans. It makes it more fun when there's the back and forth and both teams are scoring goals, and you get to kind of you rib each other out in the stands, with the other fans and things like that. So I don't know. I personally love it. I know people in Winnipeg don't. And again, people here are very protective, right? Over the Jets. It's the losing them thing. Everybody's still real, like, how dare you? And in a city where you did lose the team for that stretch, you had so many people who grew up fans of other, franchises because of it. So you get that extra piece added on. It's, to me, I like it because I like to see the energy in the building go back and forth, but I totally understand why people don't.
Hey, more than fair. A rock is building for me, makes it a lot more fun. I'm all for it. Let's get into the From Financial Face-Off. If you're new to the show, we want to know, what aspect of this game do you think tipped the scales and created the result that we saw? Let's get into the From Financial Face-Off. Mikey, what is yours on this night?
So tonight I went with one that's, again, a bit of a classic that the Jets have kind of been subject to this year. It's the little details. The little details are kind of what cost them tonight. You're up, 3-1 at one point. You should have enough in the tank to kind of put this one to bed and lock this game down. And they just, on all of the Toronto goals, it's little mistakes that, put the Jets in the position where they're on the back foot, and then all of a sudden the puck's in the back of the net again. So they seem to just not be able to shake the small little things kind of snowballing into goals against.
Yeah, and it just seems like one wrong defensive read is such a blow to this team right now. Like, despite the 4-3 game, and the fact I do think the Jets were genuinely the better team for most of this game, and once the Leafs started gaining momentum, I thought they started taking the control of the game a little bit. I still thought this was a game where Connor Hellebuyck was absolutely massive in. When you look at the quality of chances they were getting, they beat him on tips as well.
Yep. Yeah.
So I see exactly what you're saying there. My From Financial Face-Off is going to go a little bit off the board here. They blow a 3-1 lead going into the third against the Toronto Maple Leafs team that outside the top guys like Matthews, Nyes, Cowan kind of impressed me. Robertson's clearly taken a bit of a step. But this is a team that had one of their two best offensive players not in the lineup today. So the Winnipeg Jets, the From Financial Face-Off for me is the Winnipeg Jets reaffirming how good I feel about the tank because they're able to blow a 3-1 lead against a team without Willie Nylander.
That's a good point.
Willie Nylander in this game, folks. Yep. They didn't even have to worry about Willie Nylander and still found a way. Makes me feel real good about the situation we found us in here.
As John Michaels over on Facebook says, that's how you ethically tank. Thank you, John.
On the Hellebuyck stuff, I do like this take, though. Rihanna Alicia says, Helly has to steal a game, and he hasn't. He's kept us in it, but hasn't stolen anything for us. I think there's a lot of accuracy to that in the last stretch here. Some more From Financial Face-Offs as, let's scroll back here. Neil DeBeck says, The From Financial Faceoff is the Jets sitting back in the third trying to defend a 1-goal lead, which they haven't been able to do all season. And that's the one thing I hate is when you don't get the consistent push when you're up in games. You're just asking for that momentum to turn, especially for a team that's shown that no lead is safe this year.
Yeah.
I do like that one from Neil. Jordy Angus's From Financial Faceoff is 55 and 81, proving that they're shallow players who only care about offense. Kevin K's From Financial Faceoff is give Salo that right-handed roster spot yesterday. T. Konopali's From Financial Faceoff is the dreaded 2-goal lead twice. Neil also says, Scotty or Neil, at the end of the day, it's the little details. Right along with you, reaffirming what you had to say.
Yep.
Doug Henderson's From Financial Faceoff is all the posts we hit. Definitely couldn't buy one when they were getting close. Ecker with the From Financial Faceoff of zone defense. 2-3 guys looking at the puck carrier. Need to go man-on-man for a while, especially in OT. Like that from, as we're kind of talking about, as soon as one guy loses track of his zone or his spot, everything seems to break down for the Winnipeg Jets. So I like that from Ecker, who's been tracking the net front goals for us. Really appreciate some of the combos we've had. And I'm going to have to, we're going to mix in a tank commander, a late tank commander into the front financial here. Rihanna Alicia says, oh, wait, can I submit a top tank? Mark Scheifele. Because ever since he made those remarks about beating the Leafs, we've been in great depression ever since, if I'm not mistaken, 8-1 in their last 9, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's right.
So as much as they love beating the Leafs, they sure aren't doing it much often.
I think the curse started with the Stanley one, wasn't it, right?
The victory?
The victory.
That was the same night.
Yeah.
That was the same game.
It was the same game.
That
Okay.
that was the Wayne Simmons game. And Stanley did the victory. And then in the room after, Scheifele, when he was handing out the jacket, said there is nothing better than beating the Leafs.
Right, yes.
And then the Jets posted it.
Right.
And since then, I'm pretty sure it's since that game that it's 8-1. I know the last 9 games, but I think that game was the one that started.
Yep, I think you're right.
It's a tough go. One last From Financial Faceoff. The young talent that Toronto has actually developed, even during their Core 4 era, is actually pretty good. They've definitely hit on Nyes. Cowan looks like he might be a player. Robertson, it's taken some time, and I think he's more of a mid-6 scorer. They have some nice pieces there, but I do think they're in a similar position to the Jets in the big picture of the NHL, where watching them tonight, even if they get into the playoffs, I think that's a very, very easy team that's going to lose very quickly. Like, if both these teams, watching this game, basically what I thought, and one of these teams doesn't have a chance to make the playoffs, but if both these teams made it in, I would be calling them the easiest frauds on both sides of the conferences in the first round. I would feel great about betting against both of them watching that one tonight.
Yeah, neither one's giving you any reason to, have a ton of confidence that they're built for a long, protracted battle in the playoffs right now. It feels like you could really shake, either one off in 4 to 5 games at most.
Mm-hmm.
They're no Montreal Canadiens, let me tell you.
No, they're no Montreal Canadiens, eh? Let's do a quick rundown on this. So Chicago loses tonight. Let's just get established where we are. So when we started this 4-0-1 streak, if I'm not mistaken, we had 1 game in hand on the wild card too.
Yep.
And we were 11 points back. Leaving today, despite going 4-0-1 in their last 5, the Winnipeg Jets are now even with San Jose in games played. They're 7 points back. And in that span, despite collecting 9 of a possible 10 points, the Winnipeg Jets still have only jumped the Vancouver Canucks along this stretch. They are barely a third of a percentage point in points percentage ahead of Chicago with a game differential. So Monday's game will be very big in the tank conversation, and so will Tuesday's St. Louis game. But just to put some perspective on the climb that really is going to be necessary, and let's be honest, with the way a guy like Celebrini is carrying that San Jose team, I don't expect us to catch a team like that. Nashville has quietly been pretty damn good for some time here, now on the fringe of that group. I guess what I'm trying to do is frame and kind of point out, despite this stretch, we wake up tomorrow in 31st place. The game on Monday will decide who's 31st or who's 30th. I think it's safe to say we can kick our feet up, and maybe we should see a statement. Did you see what the old New York Rangers released yesterday?
Oh, please tell me. I did, but let's talk about it.
So yesterday, the New York Rangers, who, if you ask me honestly, I believe is the Eastern equivalent or most similar roster setup, team situation as the Winnipeg Jets. I think the Rangers are basically 1 year ahead of the Winnipeg Jets, and I'll explain why in a second. But they're currently in 27th, 4 points up on Winnipeg, though with 2 games in hand. And they released a little statement yesterday. And after Chevy's presser that had us pissed off, I was told, well, Cheveldayoff can't give up what he's doing because it would hurt his leverage. Meanwhile, I'm seeing the biggest market in the NHL in the States putting out statements that, hey, this is not going well. We're going to have to try and retool on the fly. Artemi Panarin will not be re-signed, and we're going to be going a different direction the rest of this year, and we'll reset in the summer, essentially. Now, they did this again years ago. And Dolan, the owner with the Rangers, will totally fuck this up. So don't worry about that. But they were allowed to be honest with their fan base about the realities of this year. A stark contrast between Chevy's presser and the LeBron leaks of late. What do you think of these polar opposite approaches, given the reality we find ourselves in the NHL right now?
We were specifically told by quite a few people that a statement like that is absolutely impossible, out of the question. No general manager would do that. Nobody running a hockey team would do that. Can't believe you would suggest that. This is why fans don't run teams. Cool. It's ridiculous, because all we wanted was the admission that, hey, things have not gone to plan and we're going to try to do something about it. That's it. We would a little bit of like talking to people like they're people, as opposed to, hey, all of you peons who don't understand anything, this is all part of the game, okay? Did you not see The Usual Suspects? I'm Kaiser Soze. Like, that's what Chevy was. It makes no sense. The fact that, whether or not New York is going to be able to pull off a retool on the fly or not is secondary to the fact that it was just so refreshing, and just breaks my heart a little bit for us here that we couldn't have just had somebody from the organization come out and say, yeah, we didn't do a good job this time around. We're going to work hard at fixing it. Here's anything. Here's a small piece. They went as far as to say Panarin will not be back with the team. We're going on a new direction. That's massive. There's no world I would ever imagine Chevy to come out and make an announcement like that, because, oh God, you can't tell people what you're doing, because then they're going to know what you're doing. Yeah, that's the point. That's the entire thing. We want to know what you're doing to make this better. That's why we're asking the question. But when you're accountable to literally nobody, why would you want to put that out there?
Hey, like teams around the NHL are going to be stunned when a 31st place team is going to have to
rebuild,
sell,
right?
eh?
Yeah, like the leverage is gone now. The cat's out of the bag, everybody. Oh my God, the Jets want to make a trade. Like, yeah. And he already has the hardest job in the league, I thought. So what does it matter? Well, you can't make it any harder. It's already the hardest one. What are we doing?
As Infinity Comment reminds us, it's not fantasy hockey. And I can't wait to hear that after we sign Stanley to 5x5. As, what's his name? Jamie Thomas says, could you imagine the city if you traded Stan? We'll get there in a second.
It'd be pandemonium. It'd be, cats and dogs getting along. It'd be raining fire. The streets would be lit. Like, oh, you can't, if you traded off your failed first round pick that you traded up for. to recover a first-round pick and actually get the value back, so it's no longer a fucking. No, he's right. You're right, Jamie. We're gonna flip the cars. We have to start greasing the flagpoles like it's fucking Philadelphia.
Oh, I knew that would get you going. Let's stick to the Rangers thing for a second here, though. So I want to talk about the Rangers because, as we all know, I was big on the Winnipeg Jets should consider going a different direction when there was 1 year left on Hellebuyck and Scheifele. They re-signed both, and we are where we are. They retool over 3 years, win a President's Trophy, win a single round in that span, and here we are. So here's where I want to make the comparison. So when the Jets did not pivot back before those contracts were signed, I started diving around the league, and I was trying to find a competitive comparable, looking at the roster design and the strengths of a team, to try and find some optimism that this core I didn't believe in could actually do it. And the team I arrived on at the time was the New York Rangers. A lot of their success came on the back of an elite 1D in Adam Fox, an elite 1 goalie in Shesterkin, and they had a pretty flawed group. And they made it to 2 Eastern Conference Finals on the backs of a really good power play and a really good goaltender. Here's what this looked like for them over that span. They built around an elite 1D, 1G with a flawed roster, an aging core. Does that sound familiar? And Panarin fell into their lap. They didn't even fully rebuild because of Panarin falling into their lap. They go on to win a President's Trophy. They miss the playoffs the year following the President's Trophy. They go into the summer and make the desperation swing, moving a first-round pick plus for JT Miller. And as one of the biggest JT Miller haters in the world, that was clearly never going to work. Never mind giving him the C. You go from Jacob Trouba to captain to JT Miller captain. Talk about just not understanding human interaction at all. They Blake Wheelered themselves, which is incredible. But they take this desperation swing, and now they're stuck a year later. The desperation swing to add to this core that had won them a President's Trophy the season prior to missing didn't work. They drafted 11th overall last year. This year it's going to be in the bottom 7 probably, maybe even less. Which brings me to the Winnipeg Jets, who are built around an elite 1D in Josh Morrissey and 1G with a pretty flawed forward group and an aging core. They won the President's Trophy. They are well on their way to missing the playoffs this year. Hopefully drafting higher than the 11th overall the Rangers did last year. Where's the desperation and swing going to come? And how stuck are we going to be? I think it's a perfect embodiment. And if you want to understand better why I think the Jets are in more trouble than I think a lot of people do, follow the Rangers' path and where it's led them and insert Winnipeg into that spot. And a lot of people immediately say, well, the Rangers don't have the market problems. The New York Rangers are always going to get talent. Exactly. Yeah. They're always going to be able to help themselves out, whereas the Winnipeg Jets absolutely need to capitalize on the value of their guys. Something to think about, because I thought the parallels were too much to ignore when it comes to the Rangers and the Winnipeg Jets. And when I wanted to find optimism around this team eventually doing something special, I arrived at the New York Rangers. And now as I watch this team go backwards, I arrive at the New York Rangers. I think this is a situation we live and learn from. We don't follow the same path. We'll see what happens. But I just thought it was very interesting, given where we are, given the similarities of the rosters, given the age groups of the cores of those rosters. Something to really think about here, folks.
Yeah, if you're not looking at the New York Rangers situation as a cautionary tale, then you're just not looking at it. The similarities are all right there. They're so painfully on the path that we're following, just a couple steps behind at the moment. The difference is they've gotten to their spot of, talking to the fans and going, hey, we need to, kind of fix what we've done so far. ahead of where the Jets are. So, again, if we're only a couple steps behind, hopefully the Jets are seeing what's happening in New York and they're going, oh, maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe look, the original, if we're going to go history lesson, the original Winnipeg Jets jerseys were styled after oh no, sorry. I've got this backwards. The Ranger colors were styled after the original Jets jerseys going back in the day. So the cities are already linked. So, we're there, right? Next season, we're going to have a letter. That's where we're going to be. One season behind.
Hey, we got some pushback. Good point out here, because I saw Huss's tweet today. Rihanna Alicia says, considering the Stanley merch sales are through the roof right now, I'm sure there will be some sort of riot.
Wow,
We're seeing more and more jerseys pop up. We're seeing lead singers of bands wearing shirts. Brother, we might be in some trouble.
I told you. It's coming. That 5x5 is coming. He's the prize at the end of the lost season. He's what they're gonna hold up as they look. We didn't go our way, but here's your present, everybody.
Hey, counterpoint to all that. I am seeing on social media more and more teams and former players wanting their team to go target Logan Stanley. So there might be some wins in this. Jason Demers had a trade he was interested in. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Old Jason Demers, that used to play on the show, says the Panthers could be in trouble, folks. Holy, a Paul Maurice team in trouble when he's lost his best two players?
No.
I'll be damned. I'm shocked. He doesn't have a perfect roster and he can't coach? I'm coming off as a clown after 2 cups, aren't I? Anyways, he says they need Matthew back desperately. If I'm them, I trade Evan Rodriguez for Logan Stanley. He fits the mold perfectly. What do you think of Evan Rodriguez for Logan Stanley?
That's an interesting one. What's Rodriguez's situation right now?
1 more year after this year at $3 million.
1 more after this year?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you think on that one?
Okay. So it's interesting. So Evan Rodriguez was one of my favorite targets in the summer.
Yep.
When the Jets actually might have had a chance to boost the offense and do something. I'm a fan of Evan Rodriguez's game. I find that trade interesting because it fits the whole retool mantra. You do get an extra year at $3 million of a middle 6 center that can play on the wing and chip in offense. The type of player that they're going to be looking for, likely. And I think he fits the mold really well for this team. The interesting thing about it, part of why Evan Rodriguez gets thrown in trades is because Florida's pretty tight with their cap, and he's kind of the extra piece that they can move off of. I do wonder, and maybe we're getting caught in the hysteria of it all, I do wonder in the back of my head if Logan Stanley's value right now in draft picks, capital of a return, is more than Rodriguez.
Yeah.
So I think you trade Logan Stanley for draft capital and use less to get an Evan Rodriguez if that's the pathway you're taking. Infinity Comet goes a pathway that I might like a little bit more if we're dealing with Florida, because they're going to have an RFA situation with this player. Says Stanley for Samskovich. I can't announce. I'm so bad with names. Yeah, let's roll.
Now that's a little more of the flavor I'd like to see. To add another 32-year-old, even though he is a good player, I get it. If they were in it this year, you could probably sell me on it just so that they don't end up in a 5-year logjam in his spot for Stanley. You know what I mean? And the Jets need the forward bodies. I don't know if I want to. If you actually can get him traded and not re-signed, I just think there's more value in a draft pick that you can either try to go out and use or flip again for something that's going to fit into a little bit later of a window than adding another 32-year-old guy.
So you're in on Mackie Samasovich.
I'd listen on Samskovich. I'd be interested on that one. RFA situation coming up there, right?
23, right-handed shot, RFA.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to pay him?
Yep. Yeah, Florida probably
Yeah,
not.
Go for it.
No, yeah, Florida probably won't be able to pay him. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an interesting name. I've had a few people DM me that a couple times. Colin Hall says guys like, I'm not even going to try it. Guys like Mackey should be the only players that the Jets even consider in moves for the next 3 years. And I will just point out, I wasn't encouraging the Evan Rodriguez thing. I just think it fits the mantra we're hearing from the Winnipeg Jets right now.
Yep.
Not the move I'd make. But Choices TK does point out you can also trade Rodriguez next year at the trade deadline and recoup capital there too.
Yep.
Something to think about. Let's look at this from all different directions.
I'm still surprised we don't see more of that in the league. Trading for a guy not on like this year's rental, but as next year's essentially. Get him a year ahead of time. Either use him yourself or trade him, afterwards. Try to get that double dip. You don't see it often.
No. And when it's been pulled off, it's been pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Rahul says, trade Stanley for a first, move a first for a top 6 forward, draft McKenna or Stenberg, and bang, new second line.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the best path if you're trying to retool this quick. And it's why they absolutely have to. There should be no dispute about it. I know you're hearing it all over the place. There should be no dispute about it. If the team wants to retool on the fly, which is a hard task to do. There was a great Reddit thread done today where fans of all sorts of teams were going through, like, do retools even really work? And for the most part, they don't. Washington's the exception. Let's be honest.
Yep.
And our pro scouting staff isn't.
It's not the Capitals.
It's not the Capitals. But if they're going to pull this off, they need as much draft capital out of their useful trade pieces this year so that they can go get a target, like Rahul's talking about, to play beside a lottery pick. So they still need a tank to really pull this off. Those are some of the things that need to go right here, and why, no matter the hype, no matter the hysteria. Connor Rabchak with WST put this out on Twitter the other day because their polls have been 55-45 on signing Stanley. And he said, okay, let's say you re-sign him for 5 years. What would the AAV feel comfortable at? Honestly, there isn't one. It is $0 because of this situation we're talking about. They need to capitalize on the trade value. They cannot spend the money and not acquire an asset on a third pairing defenseman if they want to get the type of pieces that they want to see this retooled on the fly. There is no negotiation here. This has to be done from the business side of the sport. I don't care if Mark Scheifele likes them. I don't care if they think the fans are going to revolt. This needs to be the smart business. And when you're not doing smart business, you just become stupid. This all has to happen if you want to pull this off, whether you're team retool or team rebuild. Regardless of the hysteria of it all, they have to get this decision right to pull off what people want to see next year. Have to be. No negotiations here.
Yeah. Again, if you take the names off the back of the jerseys, and if you can turn a third pairing defenseman into the value that gets you either a second line center or a first line caliber winger in the draft, it's good business sense, right? Like the value is there.
Business.
I understand that, a lot of people have become emotionally attached to the Logan Stanley situation. One, for the player itself, but two, again, you've just put so much time into it now, you feel like I have to get this right. It doesn't generally take guys 10 years to kind of make the show, right? That's not how the path is. And you have higher end potential pieces coming up behind him that he's going to block the spot into if you sign him there. And you've got the chance right now to, again, turn a third pairing defenseman into the value that helps you recreate that second line. The team that, you saw last year that we begged and pleaded to have a second line, you could build that for next year. If you are still, that on the side that this is the core that can do it. If you firmly believe that the Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey, Connor Hellebuck core can win a Stanley Cup, then you should be begging for Logan Stanley to get traded, to find that first round pick, to maximize that value, to go get them the help to go and do it. Stanley isn't going to help you win a Stanley Cup. I'm sorry. I understand it's exciting. The clapper, the really bad fights, I get it. He's electric. He's fun. His, the good story that Murat put out the other day about his family, like all of it is awesome. I get it. I like it too. but that he is not going to be the piece that helps you win a Stanley Cup. And if that is your goal, which keeps being told to us, that is the goal, that is the plan, then you have to understand that if you can maximize that value there to help your guys who you believe are good enough to win that cup, why wouldn't you do that, right? It's such a disservice to the players you're saying you still believe in by continually going, no, they have to sign Stanley. That's not going to win you a cup. It's a feel-good story. And, if we were still a rebuilding team in the middle of it and you wanted to sign Stanley for 3 years and whatever, great, whatever. I don't give a shit. But we're not in that spot. He right now is giving you the chance to add so much value that you can add to your core that you think is good enough to win. So to me, it just makes no sense to line those two things up together right now. Either you want to retool and help this group out, or you want to rebuild, but it can't be neither. It can't just be mediocrity for the next 5 years while they keep drafting at 14 to 12th every year, missing on most of them like they've done recently, and then starting the rebuild 5 years from now. That doesn't make any sense.
Sugar Hill Sleep says, I don't know if we're getting too old or he actually believes this. Says, that made no sense. That's like saying you can't win a Stanley Cup with Zdeno Chara.
Yeah. Take a peep at, again, was it Connor Rabchuk as well that put out the Chara and Stanley comparison cards? Yeah. Absolutely. He's definitely Big Z. Big Z took 42 years to make the Stanley Cup too. Yeah, that makes sense.
The Chara stuff is insane.
Yeah,
We've lost our marbles.
They're tall. Have we really lost the ability to look beyond a single stat? One thing, they share a very similar height. That is the only comparable between these players. I've never understood how we just look at a tall player and go, that's what it is. Every tall player is exactly that. We have no ability to pull that apart. It's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Dutch Hockey 21 goes somewhere. I wanted to pair with Rahul's take. Says, keep dreaming about our core. They are old. And Rahul had said, where was it here? About the main four of this core are still playing well. Going to give Helly a do-over. If you can add a guy like a Bedard has done for Chicago, obviously you can get pretty far ahead. I will say, I have a different perspective on this in a sense that if we do believe our main four are playing at a high level, I want everyone to ask themselves, how many of the playoff contenders right now, if they had their best four players playing really good hockey, how many of them would find themselves in 31st place? And I'd ask ourselves, what does that tell us here? Yep. That's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Look, I used to get a lot of flack and take a lot of heat for the fact that I've never thought Mark Scheifele is your 1C on a Stanley Cup winning team. I didn't think he has the caliber to do that. When you're matching up in the playoffs against the other teams, when you look at the center depth, I've just never believed that, one, the Jets as a whole have had the center depth to compete, and that Scheifele, I've always said he needed to be your number 2 center if you really wanted this team to be the stat. And then last year came around, and they were able to do so much by committee that I felt like, hey, maybe I was wrong in that, and I was ready to admit that, especially since we were expecting them to add that second line to see if they could make that push, right, to add those pieces. And when it didn't happen last year, and we warned everybody of what was going to happen come playoff time, and that the cliff was a lot closer than what people were saying, that they needed to make that push last year when everything was going right. We've hit the spot now where, again, I'm settling back into, I don't actually think Mark Scheifele is your number 1 center on a Stanley Cup winning team. You almost kind of have to be in that kind of rebuild thought if you kind of fall into that camp like I do. Again, if you believe in that core, you still have things that you can do that if you want to make that push, I get it. I just don't think I'm in that camp yet.
Rahul says, Nick, you say all year it's a depth problem, and Helly hasn't been up to par of the season. That's a problem. 100% a problem. And that's when you start breaking this down. What is the goal around this core? Is it just to get back to the playoffs and lose in 5 or 6 games? Because I think you can accomplish that. To rebuild a full depth chart, it took Cheveldayoff 3 years last time. The Winnipeg Jets core does not have 3 years to have a chance to go deep. If you want to just build a core to make the playoffs, you might be able to get it back. But let's be honest, this team, this core is never going to do it. If you ask me honestly, the Winnipeg Jets are currently in a rebuild and they just don't know it yet. They'll have a little bit of a bounce back next year, but we'll be talking about a second straight missed playoff. And it's all about when they decide to pull trigger. Because guess what? What if Hellebuck isn't a top 3 goalie the rest of his career? What if he's top 5 to 10? What if Josh Morrissey slips from a top 5 to 7 D-man to a top 15 to 20? What if Kyle Connor continues to give less of a shit and the offense begins to tick down a little bit? What happens if Mark Scheifele has a Blake Wheeler type fall off? There is so much dependent on the top half of this roster when there's only truly 2 elite of the elite at their position guys. You have a bottom 10 farm, nothing coming, and you still need 3 key pieces to turn this into a cup contender. I just don't buy it. The depth has been a problem, but there is a problem at the top of the lineup. You're not going to win and go deep in the playoffs with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor as your best 2 forwards. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you would need a season like last year where, again, literally everything goes right. Every single depth player has a career year in terms of goals and points, which we saw. We had so many guys hit the double-digit goals last year. I think we had the most in the league, if my memory is right. It just, you needed to capitalize on something like that, and they just weren't able to because they don't know how to from a management standpoint. And, everything kind of went the way we thought it would after that. So, yeah, it is kind of the way that it is right now. I don't, unless they, again, can hit, have lightning strike twice, and, again, they have a year where every depth player goes off and scores 20-plus goals, I don't know how you look at this core right now and say that it's going to, be the one to put you over.
Yeah, a couple comments over on YouTube. Scarborough says they're better to cash out some of those assets while they have value. They can't afford to let this die on the vine, especially in this market. It can't happen. Econa Pauly says it's only natural those core guys regress too, Nick, especially at their ages.
Yeah.
We're at the end of next year, we're talking about a 34-year-old Connor Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele going into their 35-year-old season. Like, this idea that everything's dependent on this core is insane to me.
Yeah.
Ethan says, oh, sorry, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, there was a few weeks ago where you brought up the difference between unintentionally bad and a rebuild. Right? The Jets can get stuck into that spot of being unintentionally bad for years and years before ever actually starting the rebuild portion of it. And that's the part I think that people, when they say, oh, the fans won't sit for a 10-year rebuild, because you shouldn't be rebuilding for 10 years. And you're generally not. You're just bad for a long stretch and not willing to admit it and do the work to actually rebuild.
Yeah. Rihanna Alicia says, I want them to get to the cup with Helly, Scheif, Casey, and Lau are still here, but I also fear we may not make that happen, at least as of right now. Ethan says, a bad GM didn't capitalize. It is over. Rihanna Alicia also says, the thing is, we had our best year yet we barely made it out of round 1, and we're out in round 2.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. It's hard to disagree with any of that. Mikey, we've been talking for an hour. Should we go to the 3 stars and the Tankathon sim as we work our way out on this Saturday night?
Right on. Let's hit it. Neil DeVec, shout out. Remembering my absolute consternation the other week, Neil DeVec says, a proper rebuild should take approximately a period of time, right, Mikey? Because that was Kevin Cheveldayoff's favorite thing to lean on during that press conference. Everything was a period of time because you can't actually tell us anything or give us any information or be willing to actually own up to how things went. Josh Morrissey had to spend a period of time in the American Hockey League before he became Josh Morrissey. Yeah, 47 games. He spent 47 games in that season, So shout out Neil. Thank you for that. I needed that laugh.
Yeah. Who do you got for 3 stars today, Mikey?
Right on. So, 3 stars are, you know what? He's wearing some of the blame for how the game went in the end. But if you know me, you know I fucking just love goals. So Kyle Connor's going to get my 3rd star for the goal alone. I don't care about the rest of his play in the game there. That goal was fucking so much fun. So I'm going to give him that just for the goal. Second star, I'll give it to Connor Hellebuck. He made some real key saves to keep this one, at least, had the chance to go into overtime and give the Jets a shot at popping one there. And my number one star, I mentioned him earlier on. He originally was going to get a star if the Jets won this game as well for just being bad at hockey. But then he actually scored the overtime winner. So Max Domi, you get a star for both being bad for most of the game and then still finding a way to help the Jets tank.
Hey, that's fair. I'm going to go. It's funny, I gave him the tank commander, but I actually liked a lot of his game before overtime. I'll go Josh Morrissey third. We got to give Vlad Nemestikov 2 points for Vladdy. Vlad got 2 points on this night.
Yeah.
And the number one, got to be Austin Matthews. The Achilles heel every time he plays Winnipeg, it feels like.
Winnipeg kryptonite.
And he's the biggest factor in this one. Let's go. Well, actually, let's do the tankathon, and then you got some announcements, kind of. Some new stuff on the old YouTube channel. We'll talk about her.
All right, let's hit the tankathon here in 3, 2, 1. Hey, look at that! Your Winnipeg Jets win the draft lottery, drafting number 1 overall, with the Calgary Flames coming in at number 2, and the Vancouver Canucks falling to 3, Chicago falling to 4.
Let's go, Stenberg.
Yeah, Stenberg is really shooting up there. The more I've been seeing it's really impressive what he's doing there.
Hey, January 17th, in our brains, Stenberg is a Winnipeg Jet today. But a couple announcements here. We have 2 more shows left before a month off during the Olympic break and the last few games before it. We'll be here Monday. We'll be here Tuesday. And then we're going on a bit of a break. I know Frosty Winnipeg has been bugging us about Super Chats. Finally got that taken care of. We got this YouTube stuff taken care of. Mikey, as we all sort this out, do you want to explain the community thing? And we'll work through this here.
Right on. So, like Nick said, we finally have been able to join up with the YouTube Partners Program. So we have things like Super Chats available, Super Shoutouts, Super Thanks, all that, the stickers. We're going to be going live with membership as well, so you can join up to be a member with the landing strip. We're going to be doing things like having early access to videos, some private live streams, draws to be giving out tickets to go see games. We're going to be doing a private show, maybe once a week. We haven't totally decided on the time frame yet, where we're going to get to do more of an in-depth look at things. We'll take your questions and things you want to know ahead of time, things you want researched and looked up. We'll kind of put that together so that we can put a show together for everybody and just kind of bring you a more personalized and more custom experience. And we're gonna have fun things too, like custom emojis and custom stickers and all that type of stuff. So the rollout will come when we get back from the break, and it's just something exciting that we get to do with everybody here.
Yeah, we're gonna sort that out over the month break and continue to pass along information. We've also created a bit of a Discord. If you're someone that uses Discord and you want to talk Jets hockey throughout the week, we'll be posting that. I don't know if there's somewhere on YouTube here. Well, maybe we'll put it in the show links on the podcast apps and such. So if you're interested in talking Jets hockey throughout the day, we're going to have a bunch of different channels. If you want your fantasy GM ideas out there, you want to see the latest signings, trades, league-wide stuff, we're going to have a bit of a hockey community going on the old Discord. So let us know. We could send you the link. Hey!
Shout out.
Hey, appreciate you, Nicholas at Night, our first super chat. You guys really do not have to pay us this kind of thing, but I appreciate it. Nicholas at Night says, True North sucks. The landing strip does not. And we appreciate that love. Ethan KPM also says, a private landing strip show. Who is waxing? Dutch Hockey says, love your show. You guys say it the way it is. No bullshit. No making excuses. I appreciate that. That's our goal at all times. Neil DeBeck, thank you for the super chat. Great show, boys.
Thank you so much,
At the end of the day,
Neil.
we're going to keep doing this show. We're going to keep doing it for free. You guys don't have to do any of this. You don't have to join the communities. Don't have to send us stuff. those options are there, and we're going to try and sweeten the pot, especially with the ticket giveaways twice a month. We just appreciate the support we've gotten, the constant contact, the emails, the DMs. You guys all make this show worth doing. So we thank you for being a part of this. We're going to go out on our way here. We'll be back Monday when Johnny Taves returns to Chicago. Talk about a big one.
Yep.
For the Winnipegger.
And
probably going to be an emotional one.
And I just want to say, for everybody listening, either right now or if you're listening the next day, whenever, and if there's something you want to see specifically, if there's, an idea you've got for us that you want done, or, send us an email, right? toplinemedia@gmail.com. You can ask us for the Discord link there as well, whatever it is. So, yeah, shoot us an email and let us know what you want, because we make the show so that you've got something to, come to and enjoy, whether the Jets win, whether they lose. We can have a laugh and, really get into it. So we want this show to be just as much yours as it is ours. So please email us. Let us know what you'd like to see.
And one last shout out. On the way out, T. Conapoli with another super chat here says, "Let's go, boys and girls." Nicholas at Night says, "This is the only Jet show that makes me feel like I'm not being gaslit." We will honestly always try and bring the fans a microphone. The best part of this show has been taking your calls, diving into the chat and seeing what you guys want to talk about, bouncing off different ideas. At the end of the day, this show is about giving the community and fans a bit of a voice. We're just a couple knuckleheads that put the microphone out there. We appreciate you all. And Neil DeBeck says, use the super chat money to buy some tanker goggles. Now I know what I got to do. But by the time we come back after my surgery, thank you for joining the landing strip. We appreciate your time. We'll be back Monday. Have a great rest of your weekend here.
Right on. Good night, everybody.